Hey guys, what's up? It's Chris Mustache, and I must ask a bunch of questions during a movie. Here's another review coming right at you. Let's get to it. Today I'll be reviewing Pokemon Detective Pikachu. So this movie is about Tim, a young man who doesn't have a Pokemon partner in a world full of Pokemon, who needs to go to Rhyme City to look into his father's disappearance. His father is a detective, and his disappearance is laid with mystery, and Tim has to look into it and eventually partners up with his father's Pikachu to find out more. So this film is a combination of live action with CGI. So we have that live action aspect of seeing actual people, and also the computer generated aspect, similar to older movies like Space Jam and also like modern ones like Lion King. And the story and also the style is reminiscent of Who Framed Roger Rabbit, which was a film noir cartoon mixed with live action. What I really liked most about this movie was the world building. So they really created a very intricate, vibrant, colorful world for the Pokemon to inhabit. And in this film, they sort of fast forward in a future world, a more modern world, where Pokemon are on an equal playing field with humans. Well, humans are a little bit above them. They still have a slight more dominance over them, but there is a partnership involved. And this, you see this a lot in Rhyme City, which is very similar to what Ash Ketchum was aspiring to when he was a Pokemon trainer, which was very nostalgic. And nice to see that the writers really respected the source material that they were basing this movie off of. We get to see a bunch of different Pokemon like Mr. Mime, Charizard, and all of the computer generated graphics were very intricate, detailed. They look cute, they look cuddly, and also they look vicious, the more intimidating Pokemon like Charizard. And all of this came well together in this modern setting. Only fault with the CGI a little bit, there was a weird wrinkle in the forehead with a lot of the expressions with the Pokemon, and it made them sort of look like old men. But besides that, the CGI was all very well done. The cinematography in this movie was as grand and big as you would expect from a big budget film like this movie. We get to see a lot of crane shots, drone or helicopter, whichever one they use, and dolly shots. And it really added to the sense of expansiveness that we see of this world. We really get to take it in and absorb how large and intricate they made this Pokemon world to be. Along with the actual camera angles and camera movements, we also see really great lighting. The lighting in this is reminiscent of film noir because it is a detective mystery story, so it's very harsh lighting. It'll be very harsh on the face, so you'll get a ratio between the left and right side, between 3 and 1 or 4 and 1, just very dramatic. And they didn't stop just there, just being just dramatic. They didn't leave it at that. The cinematographer, the DP, when he approached this, he also added in an interesting modern look to all the lighting techniques. So there's a lot of neon signs and neon lights in Rhyme City. So every shot has a very colorful palette to it. So you'll see some blues and reds in there, some greens, and it's very futuristic. It looks a lot like Blade Runner in that aspect, because Blade Runner is also sort of a film noir influenced modern film, and I really enjoyed that lighting technique. So Detective Pikachu as a character was both well written and well casted. Ryan Reynolds does the voice of Detective Pikachu, and as expected, his character is snarky, has great wit, and also along with what we typically expect from Ryan Reynolds' character, there's also this aspect that Pikachu was amusingly cowardly. So there was this great balance between these great attributes and also these flaws. So Rich really made a great character that was probably the best character written in this entire movie. But the problem is, this movie is not really about Detective Pikachu exclusively. It's mostly about Tim and Tim's relationship with his father. And that is what the main story arc is based off of. And this is where a lot of the movie fell short. Tim, first of all, is not a very likable character. And whenever you have a protagonist that's going to drive the whole movie, you better make sure that there is a save the cat sequence or save the cat scene where the viewers can really not only sympathize, because we can sympathize with him, but also root for him and see the value in his character. We sympathize with him very early on, or at least the writers try to make us sympathize with him by showing us that his father has not been around, and also his mother has passed away. So he has this very scarring past, so his demeanor in this movie makes sense in that aspect, but it's still annoying. So he is very bratty. He hates Pokemon, or at least he seems like he hates Pokemon, and just his interactions with many people just always felt like he just didn't want to be there. He didn't have anything that really made me enjoy watching him on screen. He wasn't funny, he wasn't intelligent, he wasn't caring, he wasn't anything that I would want to see in a main character. Because a good character has a good balance between flaws and good attributes. And with Detective Pikachu himself, he has a great balance. He, again, is both cowardly and both a great detective. But Tim is just annoyed by the world. He doesn't want to grow. He does not want to be anything better than himself. He's not any sort of redeeming attribute. So that was sort of my issue with Tim. And not only that, he was awkward, and he was awkward in his dialogue and in his interactions with Lucy, who's the other side character in this film. Before I go into the problems with the dialogue, let me go into more about Lucy. So Lucy is an aspiring news reporter, and she has very cliche lines in this film. She's supposed to emulate a very ambitious news reporter who has a nose for a good story, and that line is actually in the movie. Very cheesy, very cringy, and then eventually the relationship between her and Tim evolve into a sort of romantic connection, and they even at one point butt heads together and look up at each other, and that almost made me want to puke of how cliche that was. That was some of the awkward interactions that we can see between Lucy and Tim. And the generic cliche writing doesn't stop with just them. It actually even goes into Detective Pikachu himself, even though he is the best character. At one point he says to a Pidgeotto, "Where'd you learn to fly? The ground." Where'd you learn to fly? The ground, really? Overall, the spectacle of the film is the most enjoyable part. We get to see a great world that was built in Rhyme City, all these different Pokemon interacting, and seeing them in a modern context. I would have liked to see this movie centered more around Pikachu instead of the humans. This actually is a type of story that Pokemon has done in the past. If you've ever watched any of the older Pokemon movies, they're short films before the actual Pokemon movie goes on, and these parts are solely centered around Pikachu and Ash's other Pokemon. So they already have that style that they could have done and played along with, but they chose to pander to the audience to try to make them relate to these characters, because we have to relate to a human, and we have to relate to someone who has this really big sympathetic dark history, because that is the way you sell movie tickets. But unfortunately, it didn't work as well as they planned. So I'm going to be giving this a 5 out of 10. It's worth the watch if you have kids, or if you want to watch a Pokemon movie, or you're in the mood for some sort of big spectacle, something sort of mind-numbing, nothing really too intricate, something that's just pleasing. There's nothing more to it, it's just surface. Now, what do you guys think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. Remember to subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you guys next time.